to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and I am so very happy that you tuned in today. We've got a very special program. I have an incredible guest in with me. He is known as the Expert Whisperer, and I put air quotes around that. The Expert Whisperer, indeed. MICHAEL KLEIN is the CEO of Cannabis MD, the leading digital media destination for comprehensive information on the potential therapeutic uses of cannabis and CBD. MICHAEL has also served as Executive Vice President of Original Content for MTV, as well as Executive Vice President of Programming and Content Strategy for Conde Naste Entertainment. MICHAEL has also oversaw the company's portfolio of digital channels, including Vogue, Vanity Fair, Wired, GQ, The New Yorker. The list goes on and on and on. I want to welcome to Out of the Box with Christine, Mr. MICHAEL KLEIN. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
You know, the beautiful thing about this whole wonderful digital era is that I find out about you, and you being the brand new CEO of Cannabis MD, which cannabis right now, let's talk about that. It's just huge, right? And I'm a wonderful participant of cannabis. I do CBD oil internally. It helps me on so many different levels. I also do it for my skin, which is phenomenal. And it's such an amazing hot thing. But then I actually looked at your resume, and I looked at the people and the institutions and my goodness, you have helped many people. Even one name that comes up to mind is Anthony Bourdain.
Right.
How did you hook up with Anthony Bourdain?
Well, Anthony Bourdain, had an unbelievable career, and at Travel Channel we had a series called No Reservations, which was one of the biggest shows on the network. And when I went to Travel Channel, it was really at a time when we were reimagining and how we could really expand, the reach of our content to audiences, and Bourdain was a key part of that.
Oh, wow. And indeed. Now, so this new venture, okay, so you've been all over the place. You've been at MTV, Vogue, right? You're just doing all of this amazing stuff. And now Cannabis MD. How did you get involved with this phenomenon?
Yeah, no, very fortunate, I have to say. Someone approached me last year about a cannabis business, and I did my research, did a deep dive into what was happening, knowing that it has exploded in culture. You can't escape it. Within the news cycle, within individual experiences, etc. But as I looked around the landscape, what I found was that there are any number of digital platforms that have emerged, but they were all speaking to a recreational user, an adult consumption. So somebody who was already experienced with cannabis in some way, and celebrating the fact that legalization is all over the place. Right. Nobody was talking to a cannabis curious consumer, somebody who was looking for information around potential benefits of medical cannabis and CBD, and doing it from that non-advocacy point of view. Not having a bias towards use.
Right.
So that you could create what we call a safe environment for those consumers, because they didn't have any place to go. They're not going to go to a dispensary. They don't see themselves as one of those people, as it were.
Not until they're educated anymore.
Correct.
Right?
And the other sites, when they're targeting an adult consumption, you may have images that drive stigma around people blowing smoke.
Cheech and Chong.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Look at just this past, 420 every April becomes, the big celebratory moment for legalization. It's also part of a movement. We have to be fair about that. But regardless, that stigma can prevent people from actually discovering something that may help them within their respective health and wellness journey. So I saw that interesting opportunity. I have to tell you a personal story. A few years ago, my father called me one day, and he had suffered a number of ailments and was on a buffet of pharmaceuticals.
Right?
And he said, I think I'm going to try medical cannabis for my pain. And I said, I think that's a great idea. He lived in Canada, so he went to his doctor and got his script. And then what? So he, for me, as somebody who wanted to, obviously be involved in his healthcare from a distance, I went online, and it's like TripAdvisor. You're finding all this content. You have no idea if it's verified, if it's authentic, if it's written by
if it's made in their bathtub.
Well, yeah, or 22-year-old Jason in the dispensary wrote a nice article, and unfortunately, you couldn't find that authority voice, so he had to go to the dispensary, and 22-year-old Jason, gave him the vape for morning and a vape for night
with the septum ring.
Yes, and my then 79-year-old father is like, all right. He never slept better for a period of time, but it always occurred to me, like, there's a need state here. There's an underserved audience.
Yeah.
And that really ties back to my entire career. We can go into that later. But, a hit television series is really about discovering an underserved audience and super serving them what they're looking for, even before they may even known it. So Cannabis MD, here we have this great opportunity to build an authority site of premium content and really tapping into to my, honestly, every part of my career in some way.
Well, and one trip down Cannabis MD is lovely because there's you have an amazing array of experts and medical. But again, we have to. Isn't it funny because we do attach so much weight to the MD part of it. When someone is a doctor, we do attach a lot of weight to that, and that's just our training in general, right?
That's right.
We believe that someone has a lab coat with a stethoscope. We believe that person more than someone who does not.
That's right.
So, but you have, and talk about, if you don't mind, some of the amazing experts that you have that are throughout the website.
Sure. My goal with Cannabis MD is to really build a framework for great talent and voices to come and share their knowledge, share their experience, and again, as I say, make that a great experience for our consumers. So on my medical advisory team, being very judicious about who I invite to the party. As you say, I mean, sort of the lab coat, and the MD instills trust, but you've got to look beyond that. And even particularly within the cannabis arena, you can find a lot of pay-for-play doctors that are, go on FaceTime, have a conversation, and get a prescription written for a fee. We're not playing that game. I have looked for individuals that are looking for truth and answers towards potential benefits and real-world experience. So Dr. Junella Chin out of New York, also was here in California, has a practice where she focuses on children, primarily with epilepsy and with ADHD. She also finds that the parents that are coming in with their children are also then curious about what to do with their parents. My position of the aging parent who comes in and says, "I'm not going to smoke that marijuana."
You don't have to,
that pusher doctor. And she tells very funny stories, but where she can, people can find relief, particularly from arthritis, from
amazing
any
relief
number,
with arthritis, especially.
Any number of ailments. Dr. Matt Monte here in California has a specialty with athletes. And fascinating, from a preventative perspective and also from a recovery perspective. An incredible experience globally with CBD and some degree of medical cannabis. And there's always a mixture, from the doctor's perspective, where you do take CBD and it might be a microdose of THC that provides the right sort of the right mixture for that particular ailment.
Yeah, and in my own personal adventure journey through this, I know, and it's funny because my body knows when it just wants pure CBD. Well, and my face always wants CBD. My skin. I'm over 50. I'm
Your
well over
skin
50. I'm in
looks amazing.
I'm in the middle range of 50s, and CBD has just done such amazing things. That's it. I'm doing that. But there are times when I just want the pure CBD, and a lot of times that might be sleep related or just overall. It's almost like a multivitamin, right?
Sure.
That I take. And then there are other times when a small dose of THC mixed with the CBD is exactly what my body is needing and craving. And it may not be anything in particular, like, oh, I'm in a great deal of pain, but because we have cannabinoids, and maybe if you know about this, probably maybe better than I do, that we have cannabinoid receptors in our body. In other words, we are built to receive the cannabinoid, this amazing plant, all of the beautiful properties were made for this plant, and the derivatives of it, that our body knows exactly what to do with it. It's almost like one of those, what's the word? It's not a homeostasis thing. There's a word that I can't remember now, but it's the thing of like, if you're too high on this, once you take it brings you back down to where you should be. If you're too low in this area, you take it and it takes you to where you should be. And I know the word is right there and I can't remember it. And the audience right now is screaming it at me, but I can't hear you. So, but
it is that endocannabinoid system in our bodies.
Yes.
That is those triggers. What's so interesting about cannabis as a plant, the history of it, where it has been used for thousands of years.
Yes.
That it is probably the most studied plant in history. Yet here we are today, still having listed as Schedule 1 in the U.S. Legalization happening in other countries. Obviously what's happening in America right now look at the last election where medical cannabis was passed in several states. Nobody even talked about it. It just happened, that Utah.
And the federal government is still like saying, oh, no.
Right. Although the passage of the Farm Bill and hemp changes the conversation around CBD, hemp-derived CBD. The FDA is still stepping in, though, saying, look, we control food and product. So we're in a situation right now where it's clear as mud. And it's causing confusion for consumers. Yes. At the same time, the consumer acceptance of CBD is palpable. We did a piece of work looking at relative search terms in the U.S. over the last 5 years. And it's an amazing graph, if we could have a visual. So on the top, you have, beauty. Beauty is like this bubbly red. People love beauty.
Yes, they do.
You can't get enough beauty. Veganism had
right on.
Spikes at the end of 2016 had a moment. It was up there.
Right.
And then came down, and it's kind of gone to a steady state. Wellness, as you can imagine, always pops in January. New year, new you.
Resolution.
By mid-Feb, what they call the cliff, it falls.
Right. It's cold. They need to eat
The
something.
gym gets quiet again.
Yeah.
But, and bounces along. Although Trump's inauguration, there was a spike in wellness, huge spike. And we took a look into it. It was depression.
Oh, wow.
It's fascinating.
Well, that tells you a lot.
Fascinating. Then you look at CBD. Bubbled along for the 3 years. Then at the beginning of 2017, you see it sort of hockey stick. End of 2018, now into 2019, it's one of the most searched terms on the internet.
Yeah.
And what it's saying is that consumers are accepting this, and they're outpacing the ability to have an authority voice guide them.
Yeah.
So that's where Cannabis MD steps in. But from a regulatory perspective, they haven't caught up.
Yeah.
Brands are now racing to catch up.
Totally.
Look, in the last 4 weeks, Martha Stewart launching, a CBD line, CVS pharmacies and Walgreens.
Yes.
Both with CBD.
Yes.
A burger joint, around 420 had a stunt for a burger.
No, they did not.
They did. The Rocky Mountain High.
Are you serious?
I am.
I know, and I get promotional things sent to me from time to time, and I just got something in the mail. I won't say the maker or the name or the promotional tie-in, but it contained the whole idea was CBD oil, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I love CBD oil, and I was like, and then the product that it was in was loaded with food colorings, like yellow number red number so and so, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, which I don't touch. What was the other thing? It was crazy. It was all of the things that actually cause you illness,
Right.
cause you cancer, and combined with this beautiful CBD. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
You've just completely bastardized the beauty of CBD.
Well, and that's the concern, quite frankly, that with all this confusion and all the clutter, suddenly, you know, that confusion will drive people to be turned off by it and think, oh, it's just a thing, it's a stunt, it's a phase. You know, food products, as an example. I have an amazing food editor, Chef Andrea Drummer, who here in Los Angeles, her company Food Elevated, is really on the forefront of CBD cuisine.
Nice.
And it's fascinating for her personally. She was an anti-drug advocate in life. She was a say no to drugs person in her professional career. She then went to Cordon Bleu. And while she was at Cordon Bleu, you know, she was, you know, suffering with her own pain management, and she had a chocolate and peanut butter moment of food, CBD.
Wow.
And she's become this incredible authority voice, and you know, wrote a very thoughtful piece on Cannabis MD about reimagining the edible. You know, the edible in the past was a sort of a format for a person to receive a high from the THC.
Yes.
An edible now is actually a healthy choice from a CBD perspective.
Yes.
And therefore, the brownie isn't going to cut it.
No.
To your point, you don't
the
want
Rice Krispie square, the fruity Pebbles Rice Krispie square with marshmallow and butter is not going to cut it, or the goldfish.
That's right. And your high fructose corn syrup, food colored, whatever you got.
But there is someone that is on Cannabis MD who's going to show you how to make maybe like a salad with a CBD oil kind of vinegar.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh my God.
You know, smart ways at incorporating it into your beverages. You know, again, ways that can make sense where look, the trick of CBD oil is delivery and absorption.
Yes.
And
yes.
oil and water don't mix. So we as humans. So, it's finding the right ways of ingestion to get the maximum effect that a person's looking for.
Well, and I would think too, if it's embedded within our food, either beverage or food that we masticate, that we chew. I said masticate, people. That's that we chew and we digest. The way that it's delivered into our system would be quite different than any other format as well. And it also brings a little bit of elegance to it, Michael.
That's right.
It also makes it much more palatable to people. I know that there has been, and I've been doing a great deal of studies on my own. There has been in the last 10 to 15 years an absolute epidemic of children born with autism, and in particular boys. However people want to look at it, what the cause is, we are facing where it used to be a percentage point of, 10%, it was like 2% of the population, then 5%, then 10%. Now we're looking at 34. It's just growing exponentially. And whatever the reason is, the reports that I've seen, the documentation that I've seen, is that there is a phenomenal relationship with CBD and children with autism, and children who are now becoming adults with autism. I don't understand really completely the connection of that and what it does, if it calms the nervous system down. There's a great deal of anxiety, I know, with people with autism, but there's a lot more research that needs to be done, and I hope I will be checking also because I have a family member that has autism, so I will be also checking relatively often with Cannabis MD on articles on that relation, on that connection with autism, and I know ADHD as well. Yeah,
and look, that's the beauty of the platform that we're building. Being non-advocacy, we're working with institutions around the world, with physicians, with both positive research that is showing that, where you have a good result, and also not so positive research. And same with first-person accounts. And as we know, there's not a lot of research happening in the U.S. With respect to cannabis. Dr. Jeff Chen at UCLA Cannabis Research Institute is really leading the charge in a lot of amazing ways. But these are doctors that are looking for, as we said earlier, truth around benefits. And if we can bring that together on the platform and in a world without a lot of research using first-person accounts, let's empower consumers to make choices that are right for them.
Correct. And you are just the perfect person to do it, Mr. Michael Klein.
Well,
because you are the expert whisperer, and you gather actually the topmost the top people in their field in order to do it, and you deliver it in a really beautiful way. It's a gorgeous way. By the way, it's a gorgeous site.
Wow, thank you.
I mean,
thank you.
I've been around for a while, and the ease of use and it's very intelligently designed to make it easy to find things. And that's something that is a skill. And not a lot of companies, organizations have that skill. And you did it very, very well.
Well, we put consumers first. In anything I've done in my career, it's audience first.
Yeah.
And with Cannabis MD, as I mentioned earlier, if you're a cannabis-curious consumer, let's create the environment that feels safe, where there's no smoke, there's no stigmatizing language. Two, people will be coming in looking, generally an ailment. It's a very search intent audience that finds us.
Right.
I have a question about CBD epilepsy, and they find us with our technology as the number one search result in many cases. But then as they're engaging with content in the site, we're able to serve them other areas where they may want to introduce CBD into their life. Just expose them to that, and it is like CBD in my pizza. I never thought of that, But there's technology behind that as well. We actually have machine learning, so that as you as a consumer engage with our content, we're only going to serve you content that is relevant to you. We'll start building out a profile. And this isn't scary Facebook data collection. This is actually meant to be a better consumer experience. So, for instance, if you're we have an audience that we call the chief medical officer of the home. So it can be the chief medical officer mom or the chief medical officer dad. But I affectionately call the C mom if she's looking for information with a child with ADHD or autism or epilepsy. That may not be relevant to a millennial who is looking for sleep benefits, acne,
correct,
sexual health.
Correct.
They'll never see that content about children unless they want to go deep and find it.
Smart.
But it's a better experience. Look, we all suffer from time poverty, and we spend a lot of time online, and we know the environments that drive us crazy, that we're being pushed ridiculous content and not a great consumer experience, and you're gone. Yeah. I want people to come in, to really engage, to really learn, and come away feeling empowered and smarter about this subject.
Well, and you are definitely like the best person to be the CEO of Cannabis MD, because you also know very well the attention span of consumers and the public in general. And that's one thing that I had noticed, along with the layout and the design and the intuitive nature of how it is laid out. It is done in bits and pieces that are just enough. And if you want more and you want to dig in more, of course you can. But we are, just like you said, we are very time deprived, and we are a very fast food kind of culture where we need to come in, boom, hit it. And also, if it's something that's of benefit, and we know it's of benefit, not only does it quote unquote resonate with us, but we see it that it's backed up by intelligent, by thought-provoking either writers or experts in their field, medical doctors, then we're more apt to share that with people.
Right. That's right.
And share it on our social media and share it with our family and our friends. So it's very, like I said, it's very, very well put together, very, very savvy. This is the part of the show where we get to find out a little bit more about you, Michael Klein. Of course, we'll put links up to Cannabis MD for folks so that they can find this incredible resource. I highly recommend it to all, whatever it is that you're looking for. If you are looking for different aspects in, different tools in your trade for beauty, for sleep, for arthritis, for deeper conditions that are affecting you, I highly, highly recommend it. I always call it I do call it like a multivitamin. It just makes me feel better, and I sleep better, and I feel better. That's it. I'm not taking it from any one particular ailment. But let's talk about you. where are you originally from? Are you from Los Angeles? No.
No, I'm
New
from
York.
no, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Did you just say vagina?
I said Regina.
I've never even heard of it. Regina. Why wouldn't they rename that city or town or province?
It's a mouthful. I am now the first person you've met from Regina, Saskatchewan,
How is it
Canada.
spelled?
Regina.
Okay, well at least it wasn't Regina. Regina.
Regina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regina.
Yeah.
And what state? What country? What?
Saskatchewan, Canada.
Wow.
Right above North Dakota.
Okay.
Montana and North Dakota.
So that's where you hail from.
Yes. It's the prairies of Canada. You know, I literally would say land so flat you can see your dog run away for 3 days.
Bloody cold too.
Oof. Yeah. Exposed flesh will freeze within 30 seconds.
Exposed flesh will freeze.
And we didn't have snow days.
So you had to go to school.
I got to tell you.
And you also didn't have those those thermal, all those different things that we had. Yeah.
You just had layers, and you would inevitably fall in, a 5-foot drift and think you're going to die.
Right. You look like a little puffball going to school.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you grew up.
Yeah. In my father was an entrepreneur. And he had an amusement park there called the Sunset Amusement Park. So in this place that it is
the Sunset Amusement Park in Regina.
In Regina.
Regina. It's not even. I keep wanting to change it because I'm uncomfortable with it. No.
Believe me, I've had many people should be shocked when I tell them. And he would, so there was a very short summer, but he had this amazing 50s amusement park. I mean, this thing it was amazing.
Yeah.
And, I'm the youngest of 5 children. We all worked there for the summer, and then my parents would disappear to Hawaii for the winter and golf. So
bless them.
Yeah, it was a good life. But yes. But, and growing up there, you think of other cities you want to be in.
When was the first time you came to the States?
Oh, early. I mean, I spent a lot of time in my childhood in Hawaii, actually. So.
And I'm going to Hawaii too. What part of Hawaii?
The Big Island.
The Big Island.
Yeah, yeah. My parents were early house flippers, funny enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they were complete
Before
entrepreneurs.
it was a thing, yeah.
Hawaii is the heart chakra of the planet. Yeah. It's a magical place, isn't it?
Well, the Big Island, back then, I think it was like they weren't, jumbo jets were not going into the Big Island. You were going into Honolulu and then having to puddle jump over.
Yeah.
It was pretty raw and authentic.
So would you spend your winter vacations there?
No, I mean, we'd go for a week or a couple of weeks, or spend Christmas there.
You were stoked when you went to go,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were in the water.
In the water.
All the time.
All the time.
So so how did you? I have a feeling. Were you in New York first, or were you here in LA?
No, I was in Toronto. I started my entertainment career in Toronto, Ontario.
Is the Travel Channel based out of?
No. My early career was in scripted television in Canada. So, in fact, my very first television series was called Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys that I shot in Toronto and in Paris.
But that aired here.
Yes, not the one from the 70s. I'm not that old.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I am.
I had a friend call me and say, would you like to produce some non-scripted series for me for TLC? And I had never done non-scripted television. I knew TLC as a viewer. I thought, well, that sounds kind of fun. Did these shows. They were, one was about people that, had amazing sports injuries and recoveries, and another one was about, ticking clock accidents. Doesn't matter. But I got to work with the TLC team, which were based in Washington, D.C. at the time. And was really interesting. I had never considered the network side of the business. I really enjoyed being an independent producer, but they invited me to join the company, so I did. And but I should backtrack on the non-scripted side of it. I didn't know what I was doing. I only knew scripted television. I showed up and I'm like, where's the script? Where are the actors? And who picks up my dry cleaning?
It's reality.
Yeah, how does this work? Well, and it was interesting. I worked with an amazing editor who actually held my hand, and he said, it's just storytelling.
It's a story. It's the story.
And it was like, as but that was such a watershed moment for me of hold on. I love telling stories. And now I'm actually telling stories of real people
Yeah.
and real experiences. That doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
So I could apply my chops from a scripted experience and then create what I've, fairly elevated nonfiction television.
Yeah.
So joining TLC was actually a male-driven network at the time, and quickly changed with the launch of a show called Trading Spaces in the home, which they recently brought back.
I love that show.
Yeah, and then I was fortunate to launch a show called What Not to Wear.
Oh, and Stacey
London.
Oh my gosh, and
Clinton Kelly.
And Clinton, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a an example of look, the makeover format, we've seen it before. But there was something much deeper going on with that show.
First of all, it's them, and it's their personalities kind of going back and forth, and it is the drama of the human being that's going through that transformation, and the emotional ride that they have.
And it's very empowering, but it is literally a break it down and build it back up.
Yes.
But it was all about you've got it. You've got it.
Yes.
And this is a way to use it.
We know it's in there. We're going to find it.
And at the end of every episode, and those episodes were real, there was genuine surprise, there was genuine emotion. And they were, at the end when they would see themselves, they were walking that much taller out of the studio. And for Clinton and Stacey, neither of which had done television.
Really?
Before. No. We actually were just doing some chemistry tests.
Where were they from? Were they in fashion?
Stacey was a stylist in New York.
Mm-hmm.
She started as an intern at Vogue many years ago, and was a stylist. Clinton was a journalist. He was at the equivalent of Women's Wear Daily, which is no longer in publication. And we met. We put them together in front of the camera.
And the chemistry was good.
Chemistry was fantastic.
Yeah.
And off we went, and the show ran for 10 years.
Did it go for 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow. And is it still in syndication anywhere? Or?
I'm sure it is on one of the random Discovery networks,
right?
The digital networks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then. Man versus food.
Man versus food.
Well, that's a whole different beast, isn't it?
Well, so Travel Channel is so interesting. Travel is it's a very personal experience for people, and people looking for immersive experiences. With Man versus Food, we saw that consumers were really engaging with anything that was sort of country rib based. Literally, there was like a show we had called like World's Greatest Ribs or something, which was like pictures of ribs and people saying, love them ribs. And one of our brilliant programmers by the name of Matt Butler said, there's something here, guys. There's something here that we should be doing. With every network, my development team, we build a filter. Mm-hmm. And at Travel Channel, and you have to hit that filter to create a great experience for your audience.
Right.
And Travel Channel, the heart of Travel Channel's filter was the impassioned insider. So that would use whatever their expertise was as their portal to a destination experience. Anthony Bourdain, of course, was the muse. Food as the portal to a destination experience, and an immersive one. So with Man versus Food, we needed to find that individual that would connect with the idea of small town and the competition piece around it.
Yes.
So along comes Adam Richman. Adam Richman, who we're doing these as auditions, talks about his passion as an actor. When he was on tour around the U.S., he would seek these small cafes and restaurants. And he literally showed me, he had volumes of books because he would keep notes and recipes and their stories. He was collecting these stories. So we would send him into a town where they might have the, fried chicken competition or, whatever the case may be. And it was always a fun, will he, won't he, win the competition.
Correct.
That wasn't what was engaging the audience. You have to think, this was back in around 2008. The economy was tanking.
Yes,
there was flight from cities to country.
Yes.
People were reflecting and looking back at sort of the good old
nostalgia.
days.
Yeah.
And so to have small town being celebrated was so engaging. And what would happen, we called it the Man versus Food effect, that if anything that we featured in that show, their business would spike instantly. Like literally we would get letters saying like, it's around the block every night now of lineups coming in. Like they had never seen anything like it.
Right.
And so, and with that, and Adam's passion and curiosity and authentic curiosity around how these dishes were prepared really propelled that show to great success.
Well, he's a character in his own right and very charming. Yeah, exactly. So you're drawn into that. So with all of that, and what you're doing now, so are you just focused now on Cannabis MD, or are you? I have a feeling you're not. I have a feeling, Michael Klein, that you have your little webs, little feelers out for other things as well.
Everything that's driven me through my career has been cultural conversation, and how can we seize on it? How can we be ahead of cultural conversation in some way? Cannabis MD, the attraction there, as we said earlier, to what's happening in society with people's perception of CBD and medical cannabis. There's other underserved audiences within that space, and so the goal of the company is to identify those audiences and create great content experiences for them.
Do you have your own? Are you Michael Klein Esquire? Do you have your own company and then offshoots of that?
No, I'm doing it all under the umbrella of Cannabis MD. The company, our B2B name is Miraculo. It's a venture-capped company with investors from both U.S. and Canada. And, we've carved out a space that is really interesting,
nice.
Attractive to audience, and, an attractive business for a lot of people.
And so do you think that, because your trajectory, your career has taken you to this point, do you think your early influences, was it your father, that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, or that model where you have someone who's like, I know what to do, there's a need here, let me fill it?
Yeah, it's funny. I think about even people in my family. It's like, was the die cast when they were 4 years old or 5 years old?
Yeah.
Certainly, my father. He was a kid. Come on, he had an amusement park for God's
exactly.
sake. Like, hello. Plus, he had hobby shops later in life. I mean, I was the resident expert. How to sell in television and Atari. I had an aunt who was a Hollywood fanatic. And I loved films and I loved television. And we would, the fall season would start and she and I would be together watching everything. And we'd go to every movie. And that imprinted on me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so when I went to college, it was very much focused on acting and film, quite frankly. But I also knew that if I'm going to pursue a career as an actor, I should really figure out and understand this business. And this was in Toronto. 10 days after college, I answered an ad for a company called Nelvana. Nelvana was an animation company and a scripted company, but did Care Bears and Babar the Elephant and et cetera. So I thought, I really need to understand how this business works. And so they had an opening for a receptionist. So I applied, and the woman was like, you don't want to be a receptionist. I'm like, no, I'm very focused on answering phones. And she did not buy it. I was a bad actor, clearly. So 2 weeks later, she called me. She said, would you be interested in being the person Friday in the legal department? So couldn't be a girl Friday. I was a person Friday.
Right.
And I said, sure. And so I worked for the in-house attorney, and I would sit at night and read everything, all these contracts and these merchandising. And I was like, this is amazing. She came to me and she said, 2 weeks into it, she said, I think that you should go work for the president of the company, who was a writer and a director. He said, I think he needs help. I think you'd be good for him. And so suddenly it changed. Now I was reading scripts and I was,
She was a smart human resources person, by the way.
Yeah. Listen, it was a small operation at that time.
Yeah.
It almost went bankrupt. It recovered.
But she saw you. She didn't just stick you in and then forget about you. She saw you.
No, and it was a very, it was a family.
Yeah.
That then grew to become a public company and offices around the world. And I stayed there for 8.5 years. I started from Person Friday to becoming the exec in charge of all scripted television.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And I guess the die was cast, whether it was early or not. I always say life's biggest ripoff is that you fast forward. I now live in Los Angeles and New York. When I was at Sundance Channel working with Robert Redford, and my aunt sadly died many, many years ago, so she never saw my name on TV. So that was a big deal for her. But had she known that, I was hanging out with Bob Redford, or that, I'm living in Hollywood near where Schwab's Deli was, like Schwab's Pharmacy, like everything she taught me, it's incredible.
Well, she sees it. She feels it. She's with you.
But it's a joy. And honestly, when I went to Cannabis MD, people say, wow, that's an amazing career pivot. I actually don't look at it like that at all. The medium, the storytelling remains, the medium changes, and the subject matter may change. Everybody
now is getting their information off this little thing I hold in my hand.
Absolutely. That's what drove me to Conde Naste.
Television is, it's great, but this is our television.
That's right.
Our phones.
That's right.
And when you have, when you empower people too, here's the other thing. You can watch something on television and go, oh my God, that was a great thing. You can't share it. But whatever you have on your phone, you can easily post it on Instagram. You can tag it. You can put it on Facebook. You can send it out in an email. You can repurpose it, and better than anything. You can have just a meme and it goes viral.
That's right.
And million people see it and like it, and so that's the importance. And it's also a participatory way of entertainment and engagement and education.
It's building community. It's creating social currency that then continues to enhance and build your community. That's what drew me to Conde Nast. Conde Nast, here you have this legendary publishing company. And, I was invited to join Conde Naste Entertainment with an amazing woman named Dawn Ostroff, who is known as a force of nature in entertainment. Went to lead that division, and I joined her to launch television, and a few weeks into it, took oversight of digital. And we were taking a publishing company and converting it to a media company.
And thank goodness you did.
But look at the assets. Best in class storytellers with Anna Wintour and David Remnick when he was at Vanity Fair, at David Remnick at New Yorker, and Graydon Carter, who was still at Vanity Fair. And we were creating, the digital experiences, targeting 18 to 34-year-olds who had abandoned television.
Yes.
And certainly weren't in the magazine world.
No.
And so creating premium content experiences for them, because in digital, the other thing we have to remember, it's a race to the bottom to scale as well. And
it's quick.
Yeah, that's right. And so, again, audience first. Yeah. In that example of 18 to 34-year-olds, that's a smart audience. They know authentic content. They're going to cut through it.
Exactly.
And we created that and built a business that now has over 1 billion video views a month across all of the 20 channels that we launched. Wow. So it was an amazing experience. And really, from the linear television to the digital experience with Conde Nast, coming to Cannabis MD, that's why I don't consider it a pivot, by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually driving even a bigger cultural conversation.
Well, and you're taking all the best, you're taking all of the best information and the education, the knowledge that you've gained through traditional television and through the digital format. You're combining it all into something that's actually really helping humanity,
right?
Too. You're not selling widgets. You're not selling the latest, Yves Saint Laurent dress. You're informing people and educating people on something that can benefit their lives and their families' lives, and that's huge. And that's where what I like to do is to talk about the win-win-win situation, this new place that we're going in commerce, in business, which is, instead of I'm going to try and make as much money as I can and screw the customer, screw the client, screw everybody else, I'm just going to win, greed. And we see it politically in front of us too.
Sure.
What's happening, the illness, the fever of greed and what it does to people. It turns them into, what is it, Schmeagol from The Lord of the Rings, It turns them into this sort of a creature, really. But there is a new blooming or a blossoming of this idea of what's good for you is good for me. What's good for me and you is good for the environment. It's good for everyone. And I do think that that's a new business model I can see it already happening.
Right.
With this blossoming of entrepreneurs as well. From your standpoint, you've seen this, haven't you?
Sure. The way that I look at it, it's consumers are racing to authenticity. Before, it would be like we're racing to premium content. Premium content is important, but premium can have sort of there's many broad definitions of what that means. I think it's authentic. It comes back to authenticity. I think musicians have been doing this forever.
Right.
That they're taking their artistry, they're putting it on display. It's coming from them. It's very emotional. It's very personal. They're gathering a community around it. Yes, they're monetizing it, but the monetization allows them to continue to create and continue as artists.
And they have long careers, whereas the ones that are manipulated, the stars that are like, marketed, let's brand this person. There's a sound that we have with this, and there is no story.
That's right. Like
real story. It's just like, I look good, I sound good, thanks to the computer. Right. Those ones that have that authenticity, they do have quite a much longer career, and they resonate with people.
That's right.
Because they're real.
And again, we're in an attention society. We have so many choices. If you don't hook within the first 3 seconds, there's a stat that a goldfish actually has, has more focus than humans do, from an online perspective. And so you see people that become a viral sensation. Well, they're doing it because they're authentic. They're being their authentic selves most of the time, and they're gaining that audience and that trust. And I love it. It keeps everybody good at their game, quite frankly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of self-expression happening as well. One of the reasons why I love that you're talking about authenticity, because I do think it's the new black, so to speak, is that I've been blessed to do radio and broadcast journalism for 17, almost 18 years. And it is one of the most intimate forms of communication. What I love about it is that it's the voice and it's the intention. It's my heart that is speaking to people. And you don't have, as in television, where you have a visual where people can say, oh my gosh, I wonder why she wore that shirt today. Oh, she's a little chunky. Oh, I didn't know she had blue hair, whatever it is. We judge, right? As soon as we see somebody, we judge.
Yeah.
I remembered it was very interesting because someone I was talking to with Terry Gross, great voice. My God, one of the best voices in the business. Listening to Terry Gross is completely different than when you watch Terry Gross.
Right.
Completely different.
Right.
And there is this intimacy because you're actually, when you're doing podcasting or radio, you're going right into someone's ears and they're going on a journey with you. They don't have that judgment of, oh, I'm going to size them up. This is a 30-something-year-old male. Okay, the hair is like this. What's going on over here? None of that judgment is happening. They're just listening to you.
That's right.
And it's powerful.
Well, and what a great time for storytelling.
Yes.
Across platform.
Yes.
But to your point, just from audio storytelling and the explosion of podcasts and the fact that consumer need is there. Consumers are smart. They're smart. And again, they have so many choices to cut through, and it is that quality and authenticity that will continue to rise and be successful. I think we're seeing that in some of these podcast explosions.
And it's the story. It's the new storyteller, and it's a long. What I like about it, well, it can be long format. You can do it in any format you wish. There's some podcasts that are 15 minutes long or 5 minutes long, but I like the intimacy of it and the control. Each person has their own. I can listen to. It's just wonderful because also we have control. Whereas used to, when you subscribe to, let's say if you had, in the olden days, we had just a couple channels and you would have your TV and you had like 7 channels. That was it. Right. But it was programming being fed to you. Right. And then when even with cable, you paid so much per month and you have 300 channels of information. But again, it's being fed to you. Whereas with podcasting, it's exploding. There's so many people that are doing podcasting. Some people that maybe shouldn't do podcasting. That's fine. But it's an expressive form. And what I love about it is that it's the individual who's seeking it out and saying, you know what? I like this person. I think they're funny. I gain a lot of knowledge off of this show. I feel good when I listen to this show or this podcast. And they become actually like relatively constant listeners. They're dedicated. They're dedicated because they want to make sure that they don't miss an episode of that.
Yep.
Which I haven't seen in a long, long, long time.
But you're seeing that, listen, across media, right? It was that push down. Linear television, come back Monday at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Every Monday night. I'm like,
And cliffhangers.
Yeah. And you're like,
I'm busy.
A bazillion things. I'm busy. I got time, not on lunchtime. Yeah, magazines, all of it pushed down. Suddenly, when it turned around. The street was pushing up, saying, no, we'll make a decision on this. That's the rise of digital media.
Yeah.
What was born, outside of what we did with Conde Naste. It was really grabbing that attention. And with Cannabis MD, it's very similar. We go a little bit farther, though, because we're talking about such a new arena, and we want to understand where are consumers' mindset. What is that need state, and how can we go beyond it? I'll give you an example. So we built a product called the Knowledge Navigator that takes insights that we learn about people that they're engaging, if they're looking at CBD and sleep as an example, and understanding sleep. Like, how can we get underneath that? So we take the information that we have, and we put it against millions of pieces of data from other social sites, other platforms, and we can start building a profile of a consumer's emotional sentiment towards CBD and sleep, where we can drill down. We can actually see hashtags, emojis people use to express how they feel about it, why they're looking for it. And CBD and sleep in particular is so interesting. The number one driver that drives a consumer to learn more is fear. And when you dig into fear, it's fear of a sore back, fear I'm not going to get enough sleep, fear of the impact on my health and wellness.
Fear of cancer.
Yeah, right. I mean, it gets darker. So for us, that's an opportunity for our editorial teams and our doctors to be creating original content
based on those fears and addressing them.
That's right. That's right. And so rather than, again, it's about having a great consumer experience, like, let's be intent. It's a search intent audience. Let's be intentional with what we're creating for them that's really addressing their need state. So it is so interesting how this technology technology in general can further the storytelling for people and the stories that we tell that they can engage with. Where
do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself going in the next? I won't even go out 5 years because goodness gracious, so much can change in 5 years. But what are some things that you are looking to do that you can tell us? Because maybe some things are top secret, but the things that you can tell us that you want to do, or that you're looking forward to doing.
When I look out over the next 3 years, I think we're going to see an enormous correction within the CBD market from a product perspective, where right now, as we were talking earlier about, the sweet combined with a little bit of CBD or confusion with products, right now consumers are looking at potency and they're looking at price. That's like shopping for your shampoo for potency and price versus building a relationship with a brand that you see true benefits from.
And quality.
And quality. Yeah, and so that correction will happen.
Yeah, I'm worried about I'm worried about people being excited about the CBD and this saying, I just need something affordable and cheap.
That's right. And they're like, oh, this didn't really do it.
And then
for
it's
me.
not going to. And then of course, it's not going to benefit. They're going to go, I didn't get much out of it. Well, because it's
Yeah. So that correction, I think food is going to be an explosive category. I think fitness is going to be an explosive category. Pets is already big. It'll continue. As a
huge
pet lover, I know I use CBD with my dearly departed golden retriever Carl, and saw a benefit there. So you'll see those expanding, and there's going to be more authority and smart voices moving into the field that have come from other places. That's what bring it back to me. That's what what I find so interesting, that I can take my range of experience and apply it into this business.
That's the beautiful thing. That's how I find is that the subject matters, the topics, the guests that I have on this show are really ones that I'm interested in and that I love and use. And one aspect that you had mentioned, all the different ones, definitely see on the horizon. Well, not on the horizon. It's happening with anti-aging, and I hate to even say anti-aging, reversing the aging process or whatever you want to call it, beauty, glowing from within. the powerful, how powerfully potent CBD is in that respect. It's phenomenal. And I think that is also something that's going to explode as long as it's done well and correctly, and people, again, are knowledgeable. If just because a product has, I'm not going to name a company, but let's say it's oil of Schmo May, and it has, and they say it has CBD oil on it. Please, folks, please read the ingredients. Please know that it's really important to make sure that there's not these long ingredient words that you have no clue on. PGE, all these preservatives and things like that. Because if it is pure high-grade CBD, especially organic, it's not going to need all that stuff.
That's right.
It's going to have like one ingredient or two ingredients as a carrier or something like that, right?
Well, and particularly the beauty category, I think what you're going to see is from the dermatologist side. With dermatologists, you're going to see CBD being introduced to products that will likely be bespoke for a particular doctor, that is aiding the healing process for an individual that may be going through some form of treatment. And it could be it could be a facelift, but it could also be dealing with skin conditions, etc.
Skin cancer.
Yep. And so from a recovery perspective, and also for longevity of as you say, the joy of a CBD facial that you find.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. You're still a young little puppy, but you'll know as you get older. You go, you know what? Slather some of that stuff on my face. Sounds good to me. Michael Klein, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And if folks want to find out more about, obviously, with Cannabis MD, where do they go?
CannabisMD.com.
That's pretty easy.
Yes. Or find us on social platforms at AskCMD.
AskCMD. So on Facebooks and Instagrams.
And Twitters.
And Twitters. I don't Twitter much. But I should. I'm just not a Twitter birdie.
Yeah, Twitter's busy these days.
But I do love Instagram.
Love Instagram. Love.
Right?
It's amazing the businesses that are
I love it more
built,
than Facebook.
No, the businesses that are being built on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
And I like it because it's short attention span as well.
I shop a lot on Instagram. People say, where'd you get that Instagram?
Really?
It's not a brand. I got it on Instagram.
All right. I got mine on Instagram.
Yeah, see, my Insta, they know us.
Michael Klein, again, thank you so very much for being on the show. I just appreciate you so much. And please come back if you when you have something new and beautiful coming up through your life.
Please do. Thank you so much for having me.
And I want to thank you, wonderful listeners, for tuning in again. And I want to remind you that if you want to subscribe to the show, of course you can through iTunes, iHeart Radio, Spotify, you name it. I really encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because then you can share the show easily in your social media platforms. It's so easy to do. And as always, I want to remind you to think outside of that damn box. Until next time, bye for now.